So recently on my channel, I just reviewed a film called Oddity by Damian McCarthy, and I actually liked that film so much I figured I would go back, rewatch his first film, Caveat, do a review for the channel. And if you've never heard of it, I'll get into the specifics in a second. No spoilers, obviously. I definitely don't think it's a perfect film. I just think it's a very effective film of what it's trying to do. It's incredibly low budget. It has some flaws. I'll get into those in a sec, but I also think it's genuinely creepy. If you've seen Oddity, if you like that one, you like a weird riff on a haunted house, as I'm going to get into, this could be the film for you to check out. I highly recommend you check out Caveat. And if you're unfamiliar whatsoever with what it's about, it is basically a riff on a haunted house. You have this guy, he's asked by his friend to go back to his house and look after his sister, but there is a caveat he explains to him once he gets there. He says he has to wear this thing called a sleepwalking vest, where he's basically strapped into a harness with a chain in the ground. It restricts his movement to certain rooms of the house because his sister, who's mentally ill, has schizophrenia. She's afraid she'll be attacked in her sleep. That's the explanation he gives. So you have this guy who's looking after this house, but he's chained to the floor in the basement with a harness on that restricts his movement to certain areas of the house. Weird stuff starts happening, and he's kind of trying to investigate what's going on, what this mystery is, why this weird shit keeps happening. But he's also kind of restricted in where he can go, where he can run, and he can't leave because he's chained to the ground. Now, just hearing that premise, you're probably either sold or think it's completely asinine. And I'm one of the people who's completely sold, because whenever you can take an original premise like a haunted house, put a little riff on it, I'm there. So I was kind of interested, where will they go with this? And I'm happy to say, regardless of what you think of the story and where it ends up going, I think it is genuinely effective and creepy. I think there's a lot of really cool elements here. So if you're into haunted house movies, you're willing to forgive the story a little bit, I think you can do a lot worse than Caveat. I think it's pretty creepy, because what ends up happening is you have this guy, he shows up at this house, he realizes something's off with the sister, something's off with his family. She's schizophrenic, as I said, she's locked in her room, and he just starts exploring this house, trying to figure out all these weird things going on and trying to explain them. Like there's a chain to the floor in the basement for his harness, wondering why that's there. Then he's also hearing these supernatural things. You have a lot of normal scary elements, jump scares, paintings falling, just a lot of really cool scenery and suspenseful tension, which is actually the strongest part of this film, in my opinion. I think it is actually incredibly tense for a lot of it. The story, again, I'll get into in a minute. A little bit of a slow burn getting there, but I think it is also equally tense. I think the first 30, 45 minutes of this film, once you get past the setup, is very effective. And I would go as far as saying damn good for a low budget film. This film also had a little bit of everything, I think, when it comes to what could possibly creep out a viewer. It's got like supernatural elements. It's got some jump scares. It's got a lot of claustrophobic moments, like the concept of a guy being strapped to the basement in a vest, chained to the floor, and he can't leave an environment he wants to leave. He's trying to explore stuff, but he's restricted in where he can go, so he can only go so far. He can't really run. There's just a lot of kind of creepy and unsettling things that would come with the premise of a guy who could be forced to wear a harness in this haunted house, but he cannot leave. And also, much like his most recent film, he does a couple of plot twists where it kind of misdirects you and where you think the film's going to go, and then it goes another way. It's kind of jumbled, as I'll get into in just a sec, but it definitely catches you off guard, in which a character makes a discovery. He thinks he has an answer to it. He tells somebody about it, and the answer he gets from that person is not what he wants to hear, because it kind of keeps you off guard and where the story's going to go, again, heightening the suspense and the tension. The main sell to this film really is the atmosphere and the creepiness that comes with the haunted house and the vibes. And there's one set piece they use over and over again, or character, whatever you want to call it, that I think is just genuinely creepy, downright terrifying. I would go as far as saying it is like a top 5 in the last 5 years of how creepy I found it to be. You know, the character thing I'm talking about, it keeps going back to it. It keeps drawing your eyes to it. And I don't know if it's the way it looks. I don't know if it's the way it's framed. But yeah, I just think it is nightmare fuel. But all of that being said, as I said in the intro, this film is not without flaws by any means. I think the story is kind of a convoluted mess at a certain point. Like the first 35 minutes, 45 minutes are very good. I think they're just genuinely a great film. But once it starts trying to add the layers he did with Oddity to this, where you get some more plot twists, you're adding more characters, you're doing flashbacks, it kind of becomes a convoluted mess at points, so hard to follow. And that's kind of a problem, and it's kind of disappointing, because there are so many good technical elements to this film that are kind of creepy and unsettling. It just kind of takes you out of it a little bit, because the story is so convoluted towards the second half. You're kind of exploring this mystery of what's going on in the house and what happened in the past to get to this point, and some of the characters that are introduced that don't really add up linearly, I didn't think, where they're kind of doing these flashbacks, and just the timetable they're trying to tell the story and doesn't really mesh So you're kind of left leaving this film wanting to do research, like what was the point of this? Because you don't really understand where all the elements come together. Again, I can overlook it because I kind of know what I'm getting when I go into this film, and I think it's pretty effective. But for a lot of people, I can understand where you would kind of be turned off when you leave this film because you just think the plot left a lot to be desired. So overall, guys, I just wanted to do a quick little review because I've already seen this film and talk about Caveat if you've never heard it. You're looking for a very interesting take on a haunted house. If you like the film Oddity I reviewed, again, I'll put a link to it up here. You want to check it out at the end of this video. You want to see my thoughts on that one. I highly encourage you do check it out while it's still in theaters. But yeah, if you have Shudder, you're interested in a weird riff on a haunted house, I definitely think you should check out Caveat. You could definitely do worse. So have you guys seen Caveat? If you have, let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, or let me know what you thought of Oddity. That's all I got in this video. I will see you in the next one. Peace.